We're at a moment of collective dismay about the failure of China to conform to our expectations.
And 'twas ever thus.
Right. But you know, I think for a lot of people watching debate play out now, it seems like something new, or a tale that started with the opening to China in the 1970s, perhaps. And what is, you know, in part so amazing about Marshall's experience here is that it's a pattern that he kind of, in some ways, begins with this mission, but he really lives it in the mission and its aftermath. And you see the cycle of this kind of projection of American hopes and desires and expectations, great reluctance to give up that wishful thinking and those hopes, even as evidence against it starts to accumulate, and then a really kind of bitter backlash and round of kind of recriminations and charges of betrayal and weakness once those hopes fall apart. And I think there's something resonant about that experience in our moment today. You know, the reaction to that in the Who Lost China debate was toxic and self-destructive, and ended up doing great harm in its own right. And you kind of hope
and to this country, not just
to this country especially, I think.
Yeah.
And you kind of hope that we'll be a little bit smarter about it today, but that's probably not a great bet.
You know, for any of you who are interested in America as this sort of constant, you know, suitor of Chinese solutions, the first book that Jonathan Spence ever wrote was called To Change China. And it's a series of little profiles throughout history of people who in one way or another, through religion, education, diplomacy, business, whatever, have tried to change China. And I don't think there's a one of them that doesn't come up a cropper.
Right.
So it is a graveyard in a kind of a curious way, and yet hope does seem to spring eternal.
It does, and I mean, what is so amazing and kind of rich in this historical moment is that you have this incredible array of Americans with very different visions of how China should change, but who have all kind of been there for years. Some of them are missionaries who have religious aspirations. Some of them are communist sympathizing journalists. Some of them are you know, businessmen, and they all have these grand aspirations for what they're going to do, and they all are disappointed in different ways.
So what is this sort of American impulse to sort of project out on another country that we can help them find the way?
That is a deep philosophical question that I'm not sure I'm entirely qualified to answer from this book. But you know what?
Well, Marshall sure had it.
Marshall sure had it, and you know, it's something that feels, you know, as I've watched American foreign policy in my lifetime, it feels like a hard-won lesson. And you know, there's something on the one hand a little distressing to see that it's a lesson that we seem to learn and then forget over and over and over again. At the same time, there is something comforting in the fact that at this moment that is mythologized as this great age of American foreign policy and leadership, these guys were not perfect and went through that same process.